So my name is Celia, and I am the Waste Zero Manager for Recology Sonoma Marin. And our service area is everywhere in Sonoma County except for Windsor and Sonoma. And then in Marin County we have Novato and then the whole coastal portion of Marin County as well. And so we're really happy and excited to be... Oh, can you hear me okay? Is that better? Sorry.
There we go.
Sorry. So we're really happy and excited to be in operation here in Sonoma County and in Marin County as well. We've only been in operation since December 23rd, so we're relatively new to the area, but we're just super thrilled to be up here and to bring our philosophy of Waste Zero to the region. So Waste Zero, what that means to us is to make the best and highest use of all resources we collect. There's, most of the materials that you generate are either recyclable or they're compostable. And so if you're recycling everything that's recyclable and composting everything that's compostable, what you have left is it's very minimal. The garbage that you have left is very minimal. And so we like to try and educate everyone, the community as much as possible about what can go in the recycling bin, what can go in the compost bin, and then what's considered trash after that. And then you can usually decrease your trash service and save some money on your bill because recycling service and compost service in most areas are free of charge. So right now I'm going to go over what happens after we pick up the recycling, like where we take it from there, and then what happens when we pick up the compostable material, what is its life after that, and then what happens after we pick up the garbage, which many of you can guess, it goes to the landfill. So I'll just get that out of the way. The garbage that we collect in the garbage cart or the garbage dumpster bins, it does not get sorted. It does go to the landfill. Anyways, after I go over where everything goes after we pick it up, I'm going to touch on what goes where and provide some clarification as to what can go in the recycling bin and what can go in the compost bin. And I'm happy to take any questions you have, any clarifying questions you have. So, okay, so we got the garbage out of the way. That goes to the landfill. It does not get sorted. Some people have the conception that it does get sorted after we pick it up, but it does not. There are some areas in California where the garbage does get sorted after it's picked up. So you just want to make sure to be, to visit your hauler's website and educate yourself as to what's happening after it's picked up. Like for example, my background is with Recology in Mountain View before I came up here for this role. And in Mountain View, the garbage did get sorted. So I think this is why some people have this misconception that it also gets sorted up here, but that's not the case. However, the recycling does get sorted. Everything you put in your recycling cart, or places like Community Market here, putting it in the recycling dumpster bin, it's all getting sorted. Thank you. So that's going to our materials recovery facility in Santa Rosa off of Standish Avenue. And so there, where we have basically a mountain where the recyclable materials are getting dropped off every day. That facility is processing a little over 300 tons per day. And so then the sorters on the sort line are separating out materials. They're separating out cardboard from paper, from plastic containers, from glass bottles, from aluminum and tin. And so everything is getting separated there. And then after it's all separated, it's then baled. We can't bale the glass. We just put the glass in a trailer basically. But after it's baled, then we're responsible for finding a market to sell it. So we need someone to want that material to be able to recycle it. We need someone to say, oh, I will buy that material from you. I'm going to use it to make something else in order for us to recycle it. So that brings me to a point which I'll touch on a little bit later on. But for example, styrofoam. Most people here probably understand styrofoam is not accepted in the recycling program, even though it does have a little recycling symbol, right? So we can't find a market for styrofoam. If we sort it out at our recycling facility, we can't find a company that will then want that material from us to make something new. So having a market truly does dictate what gets recycled. And actually, I'll ask any questions about that before I move on about what happens when we sort the recyclable materials and where it goes from there. Because we're not like melting the materials down ourselves. That's also a common misconception. Any questions about that before you? Yes?
Yeah, where does it go after it's sorted?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, our markets are primarily for paper and plastic and cardboard. Our markets are primarily overseas. And so many people here have probably heard of the Chinese national sword. And so basically China, as of March of this year, has become a lot more particular about the recyclables that they'll accept. They used to accept 5% contamination per bale of material. Now they're only accepting 0.5% contamination per bale of material. So the standard has just tightened quite a bit, and they have turned entire shipments away for not meeting their standards. So it's a little bit risky to do business with China right now. So we're finding alternative markets. We're finding markets in Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, India, and South Korea. And where we're at as a country right now is the markets exist overseas. We don't really have domestic markets here where they are buying paper, buying cardboard, and buying the plastics. Primarily those markets exist overseas. At this time, I think if the Chinese national sword policy continues, as it looks like it probably will, then we might start to see more domestic markets being created here, which would be great to keep it local. Fortunately, metals are staying local and glass is staying local. That all gets recycled here in California. The compostable material that you're putting in your green compost cart at home, or here Community Market has a compost dumpster bin, which they do a great job with. We're then taking it to one of 4 compost facilities. And here, Recology does not own or operate those compost facilities. So we're going by their rules, by what they say that they can accept. And so those compost facilities are, there's Cold Creek Compost Facility in Ukiah. There is the Redwood Compost Facility in Novato. There's another facility in Napa and another one in Richmond. So we're using those 4 facilities. Currently, there is not a commercial compost facility in Sonoma County, but that is going to change in the next couple years. There's been a company that's been selected to open up a facility. So we will start to see a local Sonoma County compost facility in the next couple years, which is great. Yeah. So basically, once we take it to these compost facilities, they are handling the process from there. But the general process for composting material is they get it and they grind it up. So they're getting all this material that we're just dropping off for them on the dirt, and they're grinding it up. And then they're putting it in what's called a windrow. It's a giant row of material. And so that is there for about 60 to 90 days, and it's being watered and turned, and it's getting nice and hot sitting in the sun. And it's turned so that it doesn't go anaerobic. We don't want the bad bacteria that come when things go anaerobic. So it stays nice and oxygenated. And then after 60 to 90 days, it's broken down for the most part. And then it goes through a screen, a 1/4-inch screen. So anything that didn't break down in that time period is screened out. Some of the compost facilities will then give the material that didn't break down a second chance to break down. They'll put it in another windrow, give it another 60 to 90 days. Some will just use it for alternative daily cover, which is, at landfills, they need to put a thin layer of dirt basically over the trash, the compacted trash at the end of every day. That's alternative daily cover. So in some cases, they'll use that material, the overs we call them, that didn't make it through the screen. They'll use that material for alternative daily cover. Any questions about composting and the facilities? Yes?
There used to be a big composting facility over at the dump in Petaluma. Is that not there anymore?
It's not there anymore, but the same operator who is wonderful and truly a great environmental steward, his name's William Fox, and he actually was selected to open the new compost facility in Sonoma County, which will be in Santa Rosa, in southwestern Santa Rosa. Yes? Yes, and that brings me to my next. Yeah. She asked if it's okay to put meat and bones in the compost bin, and yes, it is a-okay. So that's.
What about for the butcher? Is it okay for them to put that?
I'm gonna get to the what goes where in just a moment. Right now, I just want to focus on facilities, and I will get to that. I'll give a summary and take any questions. Yes. The question was about biohazardous material, separate facilities. That is, Recology doesn't deal with hazardous material. Hospitals have to hire a third-party vendor to haul that material from them, and I believe it gets incinerated. Yes. Okay. Any other compost facility questions? Okay, all right. Okay, thank you. All right, so okay, the clarifications about what goes where. So I'll just start with composting to hopefully answer your question. So for compost, I brought one of our large labels. This is typically the size that goes on the dumpster bins. So any type of food scrap is A-okay in your compost cart at home or in your commercial compost dumpster bin. So if it was once edible, it is totally fine to go in there. This includes meat, bones, bread, dairy, even you have an old slice of pizza that was hidden in your fridge and it got moldy, that's okay. Chinese food that got moldy, you can put it in here. That's totally fine. If it was once edible, it's okay to go in here. It'll break down into nice, rich, nutritious compost. And then, so I hope that clears up anything regarding food scraps. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're saying like large,
a butcher should, so this is typical for like a household. A butcher might have bones that are too large to go in, that wouldn't break down in that 60 to 90 day time frame. That's more of a special circumstance that we probably have to go and assess what they're working with. And all right. Okay, and then so for paper, we can also put paper in our compost bin. So any type of soil paper. This is paper towels, napkins, paper plates, pizza boxes, the little wax paper that's in the pizza box, coffee filters, tea bags. This is all good to go in the compost bin.
Wax paper can too? What about like the sandwich wrapping paper? Like how we'll wrap a deli sandwich in and there's paper on one side and kind of wax on the other
Yeah.
side? That's compost.
Yes, that's fine to go in the compost bin, correct. There is some confusion about the waxiness for other paper products. For example, a disposable coffee cup it's called a waxed lining, and I wish we would get away with from that terminology because it's not wax, it's plastic. So coffee cups have a thin plastic liner in them that make it so they don't break down at the compost facility.
But here at the market, we have biodegradable, so the paper.
You have
The question is, does our paper cups go in the recycling?
So it's also what about the old soda cups from McDonald's? Those
right here.
have wax.
That's one of our cups right there.
Okay. So this is a touchy subject. Do you mind if it's still full? I'm sorry, I'll bring it back to you. Oh. Okay, so this is a touchy subject right now. These coffee cups, they're very controversial. So the compost facilities that we're working with, they hate coffee cups because this coffee cup right here it has a PLA liner, which means that there's a thin plastic liner in this coffee cup, but that thin plastic liner is made from corn. It's a bioplastic basically. It's very thin, and so this will actually break down in the 60 to 90 day time frame at the compost facilities. But a regular standard coffee cup will not break down.
Is this a regular?
This would be, yes. So this Pete's coffee cup that I have also would be a regular standard coffee cup. And so the compost facilities do not want us to promote that we accept any type of coffee cup because what they're getting is they're then going to get this Pete's cup right here. So here, I'm sorry, I will return your drink to you. Thank you for letting me use it.
Yeah.
So if you see that a coffee cup clearly states on it that it's compostable, you can safely put it in the compost bin. We're not actively out there promoting coffee cups because we're gonna get these. We're gonna get a lot of these in the compost bin and they don't break down.
Even if you educate your public that it has to say compostable,
What they're gonna see on a poster or a brochure, they're gonna see the image of the coffee cup and they're maybe not gonna read the description. So right now, this is where we're at, that most of the coffee cups that are being generated are not compostable, and we're dealing with the compost facilities, and they're requesting us not to promote that we accept coffee cups.
And what about our like plastic compostable, the clear plastic cups?
They do not break down, and so anything that is plastic like this, that is a bioplastic, whether it be this type of clamshell, like sure, this is probably made from corn. It is legitimately a bioplastic, but it does not break down in 60 to 90 days. Or if you give it a second run around, so give it another 60, 90 days, it doesn't break down in that time frame either. These are a huge problem for the compost facilities. The utensils are as well, and so are the straws. For example, that coffee cup has a lid on it that is made from a bioplastic, but that lid, while the cup itself might break down, the lid will not. It does not break down in their time frame. It's they would be considered trash. They're not recyclable. They're not a plastic that's recyclable. Yeah.
So is it better to get plastic that is recyclable rather than compostable? As like to use for whatever thing?
Yeah, so the question is it better to get a plastic that's recyclable rather than using bioplastics that for the most part are not accepted at the compost facilities? Yes and no. So a regular, it depends. a regular plastic clamshell that was made from from PET, a regular plastic and not a bioplastic, as long as it's clean and there's no food in it, it can go in the recycling bin. A regular plastic one can. However, a regular plastic utensil set would also not be recyclable. That brings me to a point that I was getting to, but I'm gonna segue to it right now, which is for plastics. For recycling, moving on from composting real quick, just to recycling. For plastic, we can accept plastic containers. We're able to find markets for plastic containers. So think bottles, jugs, cups, and tubs. So if it's a container and you want it to be clean and dry and lids are better left on, we can accept it in the recycling stream. You can feel confident putting it in your recycling bin, it will get recycled. If it is a plastic that is not a container, so if it's a utensil or a straw or a lid or a bag or styrofoam, we're not able to find a market for it.
So where does it go?
It would go in the trash. Plastics that are not containers would go in the trash. Yes.
Something else that we deal with a lot here in our shipments are the compostable popsicles.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, we've kind of gone back and forth where, yes, we could compost them, and then we couldn't recycle them, and then we couldn't, they go in the trash. So it's,
You don't should find that.
What do we do with that?
So the material is that it's that foamy material that actually breaks down in water.
yeah,
That actually will be fine at a compost facility. It breaks down, but it's confusing.
yeah, because we were told not to put in the compost.
Were you
Yes.
from us or?
I don't know if it was you guys particularly, or if it was the company we had before, but then we were saving them because people could reuse them.
Mhm.
But then the rats were getting to them instead because they are very edible.
Mhm.
And then now we're instructed to put it into the trash,
Mhm.
but it really bugs me that you can't compost them, so.
Mhm. Yeah, so the question is, there's this really innovative material. It's a packaging foam that is made from corn, and you basically put it under water and it disintegrates. So it breaks down really quickly, really rapidly. At the compost facilities, it turns back into soil nicely. I think the confusion might be if a driver sees it in the bin, he might think it's regular styrofoam, and he might think the bin is contaminated. But as long as it is that plant-based foam, it does break down at the compost facilities very
We get
nicely.
a lot of shipments, because a lot of the companies that our stores like to use, we look into the product itself and is this a sustainable company, are they using sustainable practices? Therefore, yes, we'll bring it in and we'll sell their product. And a lot of them will use that type of packaging because it is more sustainable than using regular styrofoam
Mhm.
or the plastic bubble wrap, which is more fun, but,
Right.
you know, so that's our, you get a lot of that stuff in and it just, you can't throw it away.
Right.
We can't put that in the compost.
Yes, you can put that in your compost bin. I can even make a note on your account to the driver. If you see this in the compost bin, it's the real deal. It's not the contaminant. One more thing I have a couple minutes. There's a couple things I wanted to make note of. So really important for your recycling at home and at your place of work, make sure that the recyclables aren't bagged. If they are bagged, then they're trapped in that bag, and they might be perfectly good recyclables, but once they get to our sorting facility, we have no way of opening that bag. We don't have a bag breaker machine, and the sorters, things are rapidly going down that conveyor belt. They don't have time to unopen the bags. So you want to make sure that your recyclables are loose and dry. And so just spread the word on that. We're also in the next round of bills, we have a bill insert that includes information on that. We're trying to really spread the word on keeping your recyclables loose and dry.
What about compost bags?
Compostable bags are accepted at commercial places. So here, I believe you guys are using the BPI certified compostable bags, and then that's going in the compost dumpster bin. And so that compost dumpster bin is serviced by the commercial compost route, and they're taking material to the compost facility in Richmond. The Richmond facility will accept the compostable bags. That's the only bioplastic they'll accept. The other 3 compost facilities will not accept compostable bags. So for all the residential compost bins, it has to be loose and not bagged. And one other thing before I take all your questions is shredded paper. Shredded paper should go in the compost bin, not the recycle bin. We're not able to sort it, it just gets loose at the recycling facility, but it will break down very nicely at the compost facilities.
And that's if it's been printed on even?
Yes. Yes.
We're gonna have time to go over even more specific questions because we're gonna do an activity in just a couple of minutes where we're actually gonna go out and sort.